The 3-year-old girl who Greg Abbott put on a bus and sent her to Chicago along with her family lost her life because of a bacterial infection, even though the governor's office claimed that they took care of the immigrants and gave them a medical screening, which if they actually did that, they would have discovered that she was sick with a bacterial infection. So an autopsy revealed that the 3-year-old girl had a bacterial infection on a bus that was going from Texas to Chicago that was full of immigrants under Greg Abbott's immigrant busing program. And a medical checkup could have saved this girl's life because not only was she suffering from a bacterial infection, aspiration pneumonia, she was also suffering with diarrhea. Vomiting led to electrolyte problems and swelling of the brain, which eventually led to the poor girl losing her life. And her extremely low weight and length for her age were also contributing factors as to why she lost her life. Greg Abbott could not be fucking bothered to think maybe he's doing something wrong, or even speak about the fact that a 3-year-old girl has lost her life because of his immigrant busing program. He never said a single thing, and he continues to do it. Because the oh so depressing truth is, Greg Abbott doesn't care whether an immigrant child, an adult, or an immigrant family loses their lives. As long as he can benefit politically and say he's tough on immigration, he is willing to put people's lives at risk because he...
So a lot's been said recently about Chicago's sanctuary city status, the fact that the leadership in Chicago has not only allowed, but has funded and incentivized tens of thousands of illegal immigrants to come into the city. They don't have enough room. They run out of resources. They're not taking care of their own citizens, but they're spending millions of dollars on illegal immigrants. So there's been debate recently among leftists, among these Democrats who virtue signal, talking about if you don't support illegal immigration, if you have a problem with the people coming from South America or the people coming from Mexico, if you have a problem, then you must be racist. So now they're debating among themselves on whether or not these cities should remain as sanctuary cities. Now, the reason why this happened is because these cities are way up north, closer to Canada than they are to Mexico. So these cities traditionally have not dealt with the impact of illegal immigrants. They haven't felt the brunt, the burden, the cost. They haven't had to deal with the crime problems that comes with tens of thousands and over years, millions of illegal immigrants. So these Democrats up north, these Democrats in the Northeast and the Midwest use the illegal immigrant issue as a political cudgel against the Republicans. They say, look at these Republicans down here in Arizona. Look at these Republicans down here in Texas. They are racist because they're trying to stop the influx of people from Latin America. So the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, came up with a genius plan. He said, I'm going to take these illegal immigrants, since Biden wants to keep the border wide open with his catch and release policies, I'm going to send illegal immigrants to them. So they start getting hit with all these illegal immigrants. They ran extremely low on resources. Their residents started revolting against them. Brandon Johnson had no idea that this was going to be the biggest issue. He became the mayor. He thought he was going to be cool, thought everything was going to go good. He didn't know that he was going to have to deal with tens of thousands of illegal immigrants pushing into the 8 figures in the city budget and close to the 9 figures. And if they get as many as New York, they're going to be 10 figures, billions of dollars. So the city council has been debating for the last month, maybe 2 months, about whether or not they should allow voters to decide if Chicago is going to remain a sanctuary city, a city that says come one, come all, and we're going to protect you to these illegal immigrants. But let's take a look at what the Democrat leadership in Chicago did.
Weeks of heated debate, the Chicago City Council has rejected a bid to ask voters to weigh in on the city's sanctuary status.
Tia Ewing's in Studio 32 with what could be next here. Tia.
Well, Anthony and Natalie, it's like the end to the saga. Many Chicago residents feel like they should have a say on if the city should continue to be designated a sanctuary city or not. The question appearing on the ballot fell flat, and it's likely to stay that way. There were a lot of opinions from the gallery during the city council meeting.
Repealing the ordinance will do nothing to stop the buses from coming or end the need that the migrants present.
So this is how it all went down. In a 31-16 vote, majority of city council opted not to allow voters to say yes or no on if Chicago should continue its designation as a sanctuary city. 2 more votes in favor were needed to suspend the rules and move forward to this question that was drafted. Should the city of Chicago limit its designation as a sanctuary city by placing spending limits on its public funding? The issue is now dead and likely won't appear on the ballot in March. It's now in the hands of the Rules Committee. They meet again in the new year. One of the resolution sponsors, Alderman Anthony Beal, sounded off before the meeting was adjourned.
What are you scared of to let the people have a voice? What are you scared of? The truth? Are we scared of the truth here? Are we afraid that the people are going to tell us that we are spending money frivolously in this body?
Now, as it stands right now on the ballot in March, there are 2 questions. There is room for a third, but the deadline for the question to make the ballot is January 2nd. The only way that this could possibly happen is if another special meeting is called. And I got a chance to talk to some members of city council, and they don't believe that will happen.
There you go. These clowns who sit here talking about democracy this, democracy that, Trump is going to destroy our precious democracy. These clowns have stolen the opportunity from the Chicago voters. They said, you voters, you peons, y'all don't get to decide. We tell you what the hell is going to happen in this city. And they said they're going to remain a sanctuary city. That, for the time being anyway, that's what's going on. But we've had a tragic situation because even though they're a sanctuary city and they spent millions of dollars, most of these illegal immigrants are living in inadequate places. They still sleeping on the floors of police station. They're living in tent cities sponsored by the government. They're living in warehouses that are supposed to be winterized, but clearly not. So there's disease going around among the illegal immigrants. Some of them are bringing the disease with them from Latin America because they're not checked, and they don't receive the childhood vaccines in a lot of these countries like Americans do. So there's disease going around, and a 3-year-old girl just died. You saw the clip at the beginning of the video with the guy ranting, trying to blame Greg Abbot for it. So we're going to look at Brandon Johnson melting down, also blaming Greg Abbott. He's saying that the illegal immigrant issue is not Biden's fault. It's not the people who decide to break into the country. It's the Texas governor's fault. So the fact that a girl died from a disease in Chicago, living in some tent city, that's the governor of Texas' fault. Let's take a look at Brandon Johnson melting down.
The type of chaos that's being administered at the border is what we're, working to solve. And from the very beginning, the buses coming from Texas have not centered people's humanity, and it's actually been quite raggedy. What I've attempted to do, because it's important in this moment, because the entire world is reeling for answers. The city of Chicago is providing some structure and parameters around this mission. That's what leaders do in this moment. And so we've stood up multiple shelters. We have thousands of children who are in our public schools right now. Most of them are in preschool or up to 3rd grade. And, it's disheartening that the governor of Texas is literally invoking chaos without having like a real clear willingness to coordinate. They're just dropping all people anywhere. Do you understand how raggedy and how evil that is? You're just gonna put people on a bus and just take them somewhere and drop them off in the middle of the night? And then you wanna hold us accountable for something that's happened down at the border? It's sickening. And so, but just know that our work is not done. But let's be very clear. You know where this is promulgating from, right? You do know that, right? That you have a governor in Texas that can care less about those families and literally dropping them off, not just in Chicago, but anywhere and everywhere, is wicked. In fact, the county government has just put forth more dollars for more health care. But I want you to hear me good. They're showing up sick. Do you hear me? They're showing up sick. The issue is not just how we respond in the city of Chicago, it's the fact that we have a governor a governor, an elected official in the state of Texas that is placing families on buses without shoes, cold, wet, tired, hungry, afraid, traumatized, and then they come to the city of Chicago where we have homelessness, we have mental health clinics that have been shut down and closed. You have people who are seeking employment. The governor of Texas needs to take a look in the mirror of the chaos that he is causing for this country. This is not just a Chicago dynamic. He is attacking our country. The sensibility and the civility of our country, he is undermining that. It's all good. We good. Yes.
This guy, he's delusional. How can you sit here and say, look in the mirror, but you can't even tell what you're doing? It's tragic when you look at the living conditions of these people, even though they brought it on themselves by coming here. These are piss poor living conditions. It is cold as hell. These people don't have adequate medical care. They're out there starving. They're out there selling box for money. Some of the women out there selling box. Men out there panhandling. They getting into the drug game in Chicago. But this is the DNC. Remember, I said before, Brandon Johnson is the manager of Chicago, but the larger Democrat Party runs all of these liberal cities. That's why Eric Adams got in trouble in New York. That's why he's been politically assassinated right before our eyes, because he stepped out of line of the larger Democrat Party. He started saying, well, this is Biden's fault. We need to close the border. We need to do something about illegal immigrants, because he's been paying billions of dollars to deal with this. So Brandon Johnson, he's like, I don't want to get that Eric Adams treatment, so I'm just going to go and pop off at the mouth and sound stupid by blaming the governor of Texas. What do you want Texas to do? You saying this is the governor of Texas' fault? So what? They come across the border illegally because you don't want them to close the border. So you want them to come illegally and just stay in Texas and have Texas take care of them. And if Texas doesn't take care of them, then anything that happens is the governor of Texas' fault. That's ridiculous. These people are volunteering to go to Chicago anyway. So you want them to come to Texas illegally, break into the country illegally. Then they say, hey, we want to get on the bus to Chicago. And the governor of Texas said, no, you're not allowed. You're stuck in Texas. We can't send you back because Biden won't let us send you back across the border. And then we can't send you to these liberal cities because if anything happens to you, that'll be our fault. I mean, it's ridiculous. The entire concept is completely ridiculous. So this is only going to get worse. You saw what happened in New York City. They had the highest influx of illegal immigrants ever. These Democrats have stolen the rights of these Chicago residents to decide if they should continue to allow these illegal immigrants in. And I have no sympathy for them. I have no sympathy for y'all Democrat voters over there who think Trump is racist while you vote for left-wing activists who destroy your city. So let me know what you think. Leave me your thoughts below. Share the video. Thanks for watching. Every day.